All right. Good morning, everybody. I know I didn't stream last week. Had shit to do, as life does sometimes. We got 8 people in here. Yeah, this is good. Let's start. As usual, let me know if you have a suggestion for me to read. Otherwise, I will try to find one. Just gonna take a look at my levels, make sure they're all right. They look all right. Let me know if I sound clear. Oh, coffee has not hit yet, but whatever. So this first one I found is on the Creepypasta subreddit, entitled The Pale Man, and if this isn't a Slender Man ripoff, I'm going to be very disappointed. And it's by William Fafard. Fafard. All right, here we go. He is nicknamed... Oh, hold on. I need to zoom in for people. He is nicknamed the Pale Man, but he is not a man like the others. Like the other men, like humans. Unfortunately, we do not have photo evidence as to what there is, but I have managed to gather some testimonies from some people who saw this man and survived. Well, it's always great when you have nothing but hearsay. Extract from the testimony of Alexander Fields, whom I interviewed on March 21st, 1967. So, you first interviewed them back in 1967. I would like to know more about you, narrator. Who are you? What is your involvement? Because you seem to be have been around for a while. Me. When did you see this man? Alexander Fields. The first time I saw this man was on Sunday, September 12th. I remember it since that night marked my mind. I remember it because it happened to me. Can you describe to me how this man was? I would not say that he is a man, but a creature that has no business on our lands. This is, okay. When I went down to pee, I saw him lying on the gallery of the house. He was pale and very thin. The gallery of the house. That's typically like a lower level room, I think. Like a drawing gallery. What did the creature do? She was spying... Wait, she? It's called a pale man, but we're giving it a female pronoun? Okay. She was spying on me with her piercing black eyes and started knocking on the patio door 3 times with the tip of her index finger, which was, I will tell you, long and as black as her eyes. Okay. Are you saying that her nails were as black as her eyes? Indeed. Even that his okay, back to him now, were long too. We could see his skin sticking to his bones. It was really awful to watch. Wait, so you went down to pee, but now there's other people looking? Did you all go down to pee collectively? What did you do after that? I don't want to hide from you that I'm a person who wants good intentions. That's never open a sentence like that. I don't want to tell you this, but I only want what's good for you. That's the creepiest part of this story so far. So I went to open him up if he had a problem and if he needed help. Okay, yeah, I think this is a English as a second language problem. Still, though, leaving all that aside, we have the issues of pacing, setup, kind of everything. I don't mind the interview style. I quite like it. It can achieve some really cool horror, and it can play with unreliable narrators. Unfortunately, right now, there's nothing here but creepy monster, which so many creepypastas kind of fall into. Blah blah blah. Me. Yeah, man. Okay. The creature jumped up and took me by the neck. Her belly started to open, tearing off in two parts. There was nothing inside her naked body, that's for sure, but I can tell you that there were children's souls. There was nothing except the children's souls, but I managed to wrestle and close the door. What happened afterwards? He ran into the forest in front of my house, running with his hands and feet as if he were some kind of animal. Why do we call this the Pale Man if it's very alien animalistic? Here is this touching testimony from Alexander Fields, a 19-year-old man who saw this creature when he was only 17 years old. Now let's go to the testimony of Anna Griffin, a 9-year-old girl who saw this creature while she was walking with her mother. Extract from the testimony of Anna Griffin, whom I interviewed on October 17th, we went from 1967 to 1992. That's a big break in incidents. Just looking at the comments. When did you see this man? Anna Griffin. I was going for a walk one evening with my mother and my little sister, and she is still only a baby. My mother pushed her a carriage. Carriage, delicious. At one point, Sabrina, Anna's sister, dropped her toy on the ground. My mother stopped, therefore, me too, to want to pick up the toy. As she picked up the toy, I heard some strange noise, like a tongue snap. It was night, and I'm afraid when it's dark. Continue. I saw this man standing near the forest because we live in a neighborhood where there are lots of forests. I think there'd be the one forest. Anyway, it's probably lots of trees. Anyway, he asked me to come and join him. I know that for my age, I don't seem mature, but I continued on my way with my mother. Could you describe me how it looks like? I don't remember much, but I know he was thin, pale, and had black eyes. I could not find any other witnesses, since the others are deceased or in a catatonic state. Well, then how do you know that they saw... What? How do you know they're witnesses, then? Some people say before they die that this creature can enter your mind, manipulate you, and then control you, or he kills you by eating you raw. Whoo! Oh, boy. Yeah, you see this a lot with creepypasta. I have an idea for a monster, and that's really it. There's no real planning beyond like the most bare bones of an outline of, okay, creepy monster, let's see, black eyes, children's souls, yeah, that's cool. Stalks people. How do I communicate this? A little girl saw him, another dude saw, and like that's it. That's all they have, and they kind of just. It feels like a lot of these stories are just get the idea out on paper, for lack of a better term, and just get it out there. Which, I'm not going to say don't do. Writing is difficult, even if you're not. A lot of people who post are very cautious and not very optimistic about their writing. I understand that it's intimidating. I really do. But if you really want to make this a good story, then you have to, write this and then step away and then come back and then look at it and, think to yourself, how can I improve this? How can I flesh this out more? How can I actually make a compelling narrative as opposed to just, oh, here's the monster? Because that's really not frightening. It's just you're describing a thing. You're not putting it into a narrative format. This is barely a narrative format. Thin, pale, with black eyes. That's any bullied high school kid. God. All right, so that was The Pale Man by William Fafard on the Creepypasta subreddit. I am now going to search for new ones and hopefully come up with something good. If anyone has any suggestions, please do put them in the chat. Let's see here. AI Dungeon. I'm not doing AI Dungeon right now. Did I say I was going to do it last time? I might have. But I can also just take that back. Okay. I think oh, it's a part 1. I don't know if I want to do a part. I'm not reading No Wind House. Everyone knows No Wind House. You know what? It's a part 1. Oh, it's a fucking rule story. Never mind. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing part 1 of a rule story, and I'll tell you why I'm not doing part 1 of a rule story. Rule stories are like ritual pastas. There's just not many good ones, and they are frustrating to read. They're frustrating to critique because the critique is always the same every time, and I'm definitely not reading it if it's part 1. Fuck that. Okay, let's do this. What if you go through all the creepypastas adapted by Channel Zero? So, No Wind House, Candle Cove. I forget what Butcher's Bay was adapted off of. Was that Search and Rescue? Might have been. Again, those are all the classics. Those are all the classics that everyone has already read a billion times. Was there another one in there? Butcher's Block was based on cupcakes. If Channel Zero were still around, they probably would adapt cupcakes. Blah, blah. All right. Here is one I found on Stay Awake, which is a no sleep. I don't know if I'd call it a competitor, maybe. I don't know. It's an alternative. Let's say alternative. It's an alternative where you can post your original stories, not like creepypastas that have been posted elsewhere. Your original stories that do not have so many restrictive rules that No Sleep does. All right. This is Why I'm Afraid to Sleep by The Grey Cheshire. The sound of a pill bottle rattling. It's as familiar to me as the back of my hand. There in front of me sat the tape recorder. I dreaded what was going to come for me as I spoke what I'd been keeping bottled inside of me for so long. Yet here I was staring at the red record button, as afraid to push it as I was of what happened to me. My finger gingerly presses down on the red button, the tape begins, and here is where we begin. Okay, not a bad first paragraph. We're actually given very important information about our narrator here, our protag. They have a pill reliance, possibly an addiction. Doesn't appear to be from just, being a drug addict, but something happened to them which caused them to, something traumatic, basically. He's a ginger, 1 out of 10. Very nice, Paprika. Very nice. And we know that they're going to record something, and that's how we're going to be fed the information of what happened. Already, this is kind of similar to what I just read in that it's interviews and it's recounting something in the past, but this already is a much better setup, much better execution, and it's just the first paragraph. I think everyone understands that your first paragraph really has to be strong, but making it strong it's an art. You really have to know what you're doing, I think. All right. The events that proceed from this point onward are transcribed. The original recordings have been stored away. Events, places, people, and things are altered to protect the identities of those contained within the recordings. Also perfectly fine. You could even have, if this wasn't in here, I would not, pretend that, oh, Daniel's a real person. I'm not going to assume that. But this is little world building. It's perfectly all right. My name is Daniel. I suffer from chronic, not chronic. Oh, okay, right. Okay, so I have to mentally remind myself this is kind of being spoken out. This is a transcript of actual recordings. So Daniel's probably going to stutter and say weird things, but all right. My name is Daniel. I suffer from I suffer from a severe fear of falling asleep by myself. No one seems to remember when this all began. My mother claims it's been all my life, but she's halfway through a bottle of vodka most days, so I can't exactly believe what she says. When she's sober enough to remember anything, it's because my father was laid off, or he just... Hold on. When she's sober enough to remember anything, period. That should be, I think, a comma. Or it's missing its second clause. It's because my father was laid off, or he just came up with some brilliant new way to get rich that will inevitably fall apart. The reason I think I'm afraid to fall asleep is because of how many stories start with the narrator either falling asleep or about to fall asleep. I can't for the life of me remember a time when I wasn't afraid of the deep black void of slumber. Times go on. My parents begin to panic because 8-year-old me is cutting into their sex lives, so they get me an all-natural sleep agent. Okay. So he would wander in to his parents' bedroom saying, Mom, Dad, I can't sleep, and they were getting tired of it. Okay. This would work on an 8-year-old. So for a little while, peace returns to Reuter household. So his name is Daniel Reuter. Until one night when my parents had run out of their little helper, I guess. So I couldn't fall asleep anymore. They stayed up all night fighting back and forth over who was to blame for forgetting baby Daniel's sleep time medicine. Mom blamed Dad. Dad blamed Mom. And baby Daniel wasn't getting any more sleep time medicine. He started his opium habit at 8. Gotta start him young. Got to start them young. As with all stories like this, I have no fucking idea what's true or not. For all I recall, my parents were both deadbeat pieces of filth who only cared about themselves, so fuck them. Oh yeah, medicine. I like the fact that it's rambling and it's kind of stream of consciousness, but you do have to make sure that your grammar is on point, because mixing up rambling and bad grammar can just kind of ruin a story. Oh yeah, medicine. Baby Daniel would sleep fine without his medicine for the first time. Mom and Dad were happy. Would sleep fine without his medicine? Okay. Mom and Dad were happy that I'd finally fallen asleep by myself. The next day, we went to the local restaurant, ordered a burger and fries for everyone. Just the one burger for everybody. A week came and went. I was calming down. Eventually, things go awry. My folks start fighting more about what to do with my refilled sleep medicine. They could sell it, make a quick buck after all. Okay, so they were giving the medicine to him. They ran out, but then it turns out he didn't need it. And now they're thinking, let's just sell the excess. People need their sleep, and this will help some of those new folk who claim to struggle with sleeping. You know those new folk? You know those damn millennials who can't sleep at night? What do we mean by new folk? Newcomers to the town? I don't know. It's kind of a strange thing to say, and I would like that better explained. New folk, Virginia. However, as with most of my father's get-rich schemes, period, that should be comma, this had several fatal flaws. One that wouldn't show its ugly head for a while. Front loading, but more just setting it up. That's okay. The other being that despite my father's promise to his singular customer, he only had the one, okay, supplies weren't all that guaranteed as he only had a single bottle for which to provide his newly acquired customer. Kind of just said the same thing twice. Once the supply ran out, my father struggled to acquire a new source. As my father was struggling with a new life of providing sleep aid, I was struggling once again to fall asleep. Okay, so now the sleep problems are coming back. This is... I don't mind this plot point, but it's handled kind of strangely, or just kind of clunkily, I would say. You see, the real issue with my sleep was that my brain was too active. I know that feel. I'd make monsters appear out of nowhere. My imagination was a bit too active for my own good. So my mom took me to visit Dr. Boiger. Burger, whom everyone called Burger. Oh, yeah, there we go. At first, my mom would cling to his every word. He told her to install a little light in my room. My imagination would calm down once I became able to rationalize what my eyes were seeing. This worked well. I found myself less afraid. So we went, instead of thinking, oh, nightlight, which is like the first thing you do, we went straight to sleeping pills. And the doctor said, you could just try a nightlight. Oh boy. The things my brain kept telling me were there eventually all just became normal things. Coats, tree branches, and before I knew it, sleep would come to greet me like the old friend it had always been. For several years, Dr. Boiger kept my mom's ear. She would take me there, he would calm her fears. Then my dad's once small sleep pill distribution took off. He started to bring in the big money, so he gave her some pills to give to me. Okay, so he basically magically found some way to get lots of sleeping pills. Why is it that hard to get sleeping pills? Like, there's Advil PM and Tylenol PM and lots of sleep aids that you can just get over the counter. You don't need a prescription. It's kind of like maybe they're really strong, which I can understand, but you wouldn't give super strong stuff to an 8-year-old. This B plot of the dad selling sleep medication, I could kind of explain it away when the sleep pills were coming in, but now that they're not anymore, you've already set up that the dad does get rich quick schemes. And you have unfortunately embedded it in the story saying this, something bad happened out of this, but I'll talk about that later. I think it would have been better just to move dad onto another get rich quick scheme. Almost spilt my coffee. Okay. Then my dad's once small sleep pill distribution took off. Say that 5 times fast. He started to bring in the big money, so he gave her some pills to give to me. But, okay. But did he really need it? Because sleep already came back. Interesting. These were cheaper than my monthly visits to the doctor. So okay. So the doctor was still making suggestions that you had to pay for because you had to see him. This is weird. So I stopped seeing him and began to see a new friend, someone who made me tell my story, someone whom we've all met and dealt with on some level or another. My pills weren't special. They weren't different from any common medicine you've likely heard of or seen an advert for. Okay? Like Lunesta, maybe? I don't know. They promise you the world. At first, things great. They behave and perform as expected. Unfortunately, eventually, things start to go downhill. The center cannot hold. Things fall apart. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the things started to get immediately worse. No. Unfortunately, this isn't that kind of story. Once I met my friends, things got better. No more nighttime lights. No more brain rationalizing everything for me. Instead, ink black sleep. For the first time, my brain just shut off. Then I fell asleep and I'd wake up to the sound of my alarm. It felt fantastic. Everything felt great. I was well rested. The world seemed a bit brighter than usual, something that I immediately shifted off as a possible side effect of the drug I was taking. Dad barely blinked when he saw how his son had changed. I seemed a bit more chipper to some, a bit more rested to others. My grades improved slowly, but nothing amazing. My brain was just shifting on all gears. Shifting on all gears? Kind of a weird way to say that. Firing on all cylinders, taking its time when needed and accelerating for the rest. My teachers were now speaking in a language that I was able to understand. Then my first real side effect from the medicine kicked in. I think that talking about the detriments of being sleep deprived would have been better in the beginning of the story, because it would help paint an even better picture of I couldn't sleep. My grades were suffering. My parents' sex life was getting ruined. All this bad stuff. And the pills came. And thank God for those pills. But then, we know something bad's going to happen, but we feel torn. We want the Protag to get good sleep, but we don't want whatever bad things to happen will happen. The side effects kicked in. First, my face disappeared. Then it got taller. A suit appeared on me. This is the origin of Slender Man. Slender Man just wants to sleep. All right. I was steadily seeing things that weren't there. Ooh, hallucinations. Not your normal hallucinations, mind you. These were mind-breakingly terrifying. The one I remember the most was Mr. No Sleep. Oh my God. Mr. No Sleep. I feel like I need to make a joke here or something. The one I remembered the most was Mr. No Sleep. He would come and say, "Want to know a story, kid?" And then he would tell me, basically the entire story as the opening, and I'd be like, "No, that's okay. I kind of know everything now. But I got really cool stories about rules that don't mean anything." "No, that's all right. I would just like to sleep." "Are you sure? I got a ripoff of It's a Wonderful Life. It's got 30,000 upvotes." Anyway, at least that's what I called him. He was a long, gaunt man. Uh-oh. With empty black holes where his eyes should have been. He wouldn't say anything. He'd just stare at you. Man, why is it always long, pale thing with black holes for eyes? There's an infinite amount of things you can do with a monster. Why do they all have to be this very tired archetype? Very, very, very tired. Then he would open his mouth. A yawn would escape. Instead, it's not a normal yawn. It sounds like thousands of tiny screams. Then he would take some steps forward. I say steps, but what I mean are lurches, because he couldn't walk. Could just say he lurched forward. It would have been fine. Mr. No Sleep didn't terrify me. His screams were what got to me. Eventually, it got so bad where I wouldn't even enter my room because of the fear that I would see him, and then he would open his mouth to yawn. My parents just chalked the hallucinations up to side effects of the drugs. They decided to change me to a new prescription. I'm not sure if it was due to my parents truly caring for me, or if it was because my father's medicine business was tanking due to other unhappy customers. So once again, with little to no regard, my parents started me on a new set of medicine. It was at this point where I started to notice some real differences in my surroundings. My new medicine regime started in the middle of the fall, when something about the air around you just makes you feel like you've entered a world where everything spooky takes on an aura of realism. This is punctuated with quite nice imagery and sentences. And then it has paragraphs where the same thing kind of just gets restated over and over again, and it's kind of just stringing thoughts together. And again, you could explain this away with our protag is sleep deprived. They're hooked on sleeping pills, but it's not really written that way. It's not the correct type of jumbled, disjointed thoughts, So I can't really tell if it's just the writing is lacking because they're attempting this, or they don't understand it. I don't know. So that combined with the fact that my parents were pharmacologists. What? You mean we're not pharmacologists and had no idea that you can't just switch? Okay, we are not pharmacologists. Jesus. And had no idea that you can't just switch medicine on a child immediately. I met them, the real reason why I'm making this audio recording. At first, the new medicine was working as expected. There hadn't been any real sighting by me of things that weren't there, so I continued to take the medicine. Weeks came and went with no incident. It's front-loading. More front-loading. However, after about a month of me taking what will be called Elysium from now on, I started to notice things. Sorry, the periods keep throwing me off. These sentences are ending, and they're not supposed to end where they're ending. I started to notice things, hearing people talk to me without saying anything. At first, I couldn't exactly understand what was being said or who was saying. As time continued onward, however, I began to piece some things together. Most importantly, I realized that no one around was talking to me. It was in my head. People weren't looking at me and thinking things... What? It was in my head. People weren't just looking at me and thinking things to speak. I was simply saying what they were thinking. So you gained telepathy? This freaked my friends out because what I was saying was exactly what they had wanted to say. So eventually I became exiled from most people. They didn't want to hang around with the freak who could speak what they wanted to say before they could even formulate the correct words inside their minds. That is a very weird way of saying I developed telepathy and people got freaked out by it. Also, couldn't you just hide it? Maybe you can't. I don't know. At 14, there is nothing more important to you than your friends. Well, that in World of Warcraft. So you do whatever it is you need to keep your friends around. So I dumped the Elysium down the drain. My father simply laughed at my teenage rebellion. Ha ha ha. He revealed that he had stockpiles of the medicine. How are you getting this shit? I refused to take it, so my father locked me in my room, saying that if I wasn't going to be a good little guinea pig, then he no longer had any use for me. Okay, so Dad is a real shithole. Alright. Kind of late, but whatever. 4 days, with little to no sleep, barely any food, and lots of water, will make anyone rather obedient. So when my father returned to my room with a cup of water in one hand and Elysium in the other, you know what I did. I did the hokey pokey. The same thing anyone would have done. I took the pill, swallowed the water, then began my dream. Unlike my normal dreams, however, I was transported to a different dream place. Everything here felt so real. I could touch the grass. I could feel the raindrops splash against my face. Everything was real here. I grabbed an apple, bit into it, and feel the juice from the fruit slowly drip down my lips. After I finally settled down, I met her. The one who says who can sleep. Oh, is that, Oh, not Somnus. What's that? I think Roman god. Is this Sombra? Actually, it might be Greek. I don't remember. Anyway, who remains incapable of dreaming. She looked terrifying. She had antlers growing from the top of her head, with broken, crooked, and jagged teeth jutting from her jaw. Her fingers were unnaturally long, tipped with bony spines instead of fingers. Jesus Christ. Skinny, weird thing with long fingers. Stop it. Stop it. Come up with something else. Her voice was angelic. The weirdness of the voice belonging to such an ugly creature made me realize just how bad this all was. Ugh, gross. I'll never forget what words she spoke to me for as long as I can remember. Child of restlessness, please wake up, or else this will be undone. As I awaken, I hear my mom's voice calling to me, bringing me back into the land of the awake. Come on, Daniel, come back to Mom. Please don't be dead. Oh, come on, Daniel, come back to Mom. Please don't be dead. My eyes shot open, and I sit there, staring at the world in which I'd awoken. Everything seemed different, yet the same. My life would return to semi-normalcy after that. My dad stopped trying to make me take the Elysium. However, I was drawn to it now. I couldn't sleep without it. Each night before bed, I'd take the accursed drug. Each night, I'd see that woman. However, unlike previously, she was slowly becoming more and more beautiful with each passing night. Fuck off. Fuck off. Stop trying to update my computer. God damn it. I even tried to turn that off today and it still didn't work. Each night, she was slowly becoming more and more beautiful with each passing night. After a month of taking the drug, the woman was now the most enchanting thing in my life. It was the Lady of the Lake. However, the world began to rot. At first it was subtle. The leaves would take on the hues of autumn, bright red, orange, and somewhat yellow. Then as time went on, the trees were dead. The water, which at first felt refreshing to me as the rain would fall. Each raindrop now burns as it touches my skin. The woman doesn't talk anymore. I believed it was because she no longer had anything left to say to me. I had received her message. It was too late for me anymore. There was no way that I could return to the way things had been previously. This is starting to ramble. Like, it's kind of losing me because it's like, okay, where is this going? What's the point of this? Maybe I'm just impatient, but I feel like the pacing is kind of just plodding along. No longer do I fear Elysium. I need it now. I can't go without its sleep-inducing effects. My father, he apologizes for every day now for what he's done to me. I don't know. This feels very wish-washy on. My parents are terrible, but they're alright. They're just trying to do what's best for me. My dad locked me in a fucking room, and he's my dealer. You need to make up your mind on that, or at least it needs to be a bit more realistic. He claims that he had no idea that the drug could become addictive. I know he's lying, he must be. The blame doesn't lie squarely on his shoulders. It lies on the shoulders of whoever made the drug, whoever gave it to my father. Over the next few months, my parents noticed a severe change in my behavior. When I wasn't awake, I was nothing more than a shell of a boy. I stopped caring when I wasn't awake? So when I was sleeping, I was nothing more than a shell of a boy. I think you mean when I was awake. I stopped caring about anything. My father made sure that my grades didn't slip through, threatening to keep Elysium from me. This made me angry with him, but I knew he was the only creature alive who could procure my addiction for me. He would also use the tool to make sure the house stayed presentable. What? He would also use the tool to make sure the house stayed presentable. I have no idea what you mean by that. Oh. Hi, Kayla. Eventually my demons started to come to reality for me. I would see huge claws scratching the windows. Well, I never saw the hands which made the marks. I would spend hours trying to get rid of them. My mother would catch me scrubbing at the windows. When questioned about what I was doing, I'd tell her that I was fixing the scratch marks. This behavior would cause her to panic. However, she was used to the money Elysium was bringing in from her husband, so she kept quiet, not wanting to give up the lifestyle. Instead, she found her way into a bottle. Hers was glass, mine was small plastic and cylindrical. That's a nice thing, but man, it is buried in a lot of just kind of nonsense. The demons only became more restless as I found my ways into different things. They don't leave me alone. Elysium is my only escape. We get it. Like, this needs to move. Something needs to happen. I find myself taking naps now. Each time my eyes close, it's simply to find my way on the cloud of a small red pill with an E stamped on its shell. I cannot function with my drugs. I think you mean without anymore. I feel a sharp pain. My eyes... We have a lot of tense shifts here. A bright light is shining into my eyes. Angels... My voice cries out against the cold, frigid air. I've been on Elysium for 4 years now. My father gave me a whole box of the medicine that I've been using to keep myself sane. Without his supervision last night, I've taken 8 pills in hopes to finally stop coming back from the dream world. I'm taken into the hospital, admitted for overdosing on an unknown substance. As my eyes take in the paperwork, I scream. Yeah, me too. As I see little horned figures dancing along with the paper. The letters each bite into my flesh, tearing me piece by piece. The nurse on staff just looks at me with her own yellow slit eyes, passing terrible judgment upon me for my sins. The doctor comes in and strikes his judgment by hitting my knees. Each strike is driving a nail into my knees. I see the blood pooling on the floor. He just shakes his head in disgust. I'm disgusted as well. Who would want a doctor passing judgment on them? I'm strapped down to their torture beds. They take my wallet from me. I tell them to give it back or the demons will come to devour their souls. The Lady of Sleep won't let me go. She's coming for me. She'll grant me penance for any sins I've committed. This is so rambling. I don't care. Elysium will set me free. Eventually, my body does what all bodies in such states do. They force some normalcy within their control. They force me to sleep. Oh, boy. Ugh. Weeks come in and out of focus. Eventually, I open my eyes for the first time in what seems like a decade. Mr. No Sleep just looks at me. He doesn't open his mouth. No screams, no yawns. For the first time, I get a good look at him. Despite his deformities, he reminds me of myself. Then he walks out of the door, leaving me alone in the room. My eyes slowly close and I fall back asleep. Daniel Reuter, you are in the rehab facility. Some police officers took you to the hospital. If not for them, you'd be dead. We found an unknown substance in your body. It took several weeks before it was completely out of your system. We tried to contact your parents or loved ones, however, nobody answered. Burn. Can you give us any clue about what was in your body? I struggle to find the words or to push anything past my dried, parched throat. The doctor pours me a cup of water and pours it down my throat slowly. Slowly. The water feels like ice daggers were jammed inside of my throat at first. However, after a while, it soothes my throat. I then begin to tell him of Elysium and what my father did to me. The doctor immediately sends the local police to raid my home. They find nothing there. My parents ran off, leaving the house behind. My father found success, and he wasn't going to let it go. However, I doubt he'll be peddling his poison anymore. The local agencies are all looking for him. His neglect of a child made sure that this photo was plastered on every state police board. I'm not sure if they ever caught my father. I'm not sure if anyone believes that my story happened. All I'm sure of is that in the end, my tape recording will hopefully put that demon in human skin behind bars. This is the end of the transcribed recording. This kind of just turned into misery porn. And like, it's all right. Well, no, it's not all right. It kind of just got very boring. The premise is fine, but it's got parts to it that work. Sleeping pill addiction, abusive parents. That's all fine, but just the way that it's presented is so. And then I took the sleeping pills, and then bad things happened, and I stopped, and I took different sleeping pills, and then bad things happened, and it was. Logan says it feels like a draft. Could be. It certainly needs a lot of cleanup. It needs to be pared down. It needs to be focused. It's not the worst thing I've read. In fact, it's better than most things that I've read. It's just, its Act 1 is strong. Act 1 is the strongest of the 3 acts, if you could apply a 3-act structure to this story. But I guess part 1. Part 2 is kind of dragging, and then part 3 is just a slog. I think this could be very well honed into something much more compelling. So I would revisit this if I were the author. Of course, no one has to take my advice on anything. That being said, I'll give it an upvote because there are some good stuff in here. There is some good stuff in here. So the Grey Cheshire, thank you for posting this on Stay Awake. This is why I'm afraid to sleep. Abusive parents were fine, Abysme. Misery porn with a dose of generic creepy hallucinations. Yeah. Alright. Time to go find other stories. If anyone has one, let me know. This is a series. Maybe it's the first one? I can't tell. It's tagged series, but it doesn't say if it's part 1 or part whatever. Whatever. Whatever, let's do this one. Okay. This is I'm on a motorcycle riding through Nevada. I think I'm the only one left, by Chowda Report on No Sleep. Note from Dr. Elijah Green from the California Institute of Technology. The following is the transcript of a journal that was good Lord, how many transcript stories am I going to see today? Of a journal that was discovered due to the efforts of Dr. Martha Ventrex. Is multiverse Oh, God. What have I agreed to read? The multiverse investigation team. It could be all right, but there's a multiverse. This was the first item from a different timeline to be collected into this universe. Please take what is written here with a grain of salt. There's no guarantee what is written here is the definitive truth. This technology is new and still unreliable. Heyo. Did J.J. Abrams write this? Okay, Dr. Elijah Green at Caltech. August 22nd, 2018, day 24. So if it's day 24, I'm guessing it was started July 30th or whatever. I found this journal in a bombed out bookstore. I plan to record my journey through apocalyptic Nevada trying to get to Los Angeles. So this takes place in an alternate dimension where everything has been post-apocalypse. But you probably want to know how this all happened, how the world turned to shit. Well, truthfully, I don't know. I have no clue if it was Russia or China, maybe God or aliens, maybe some sort of demon. This is basically just kind of Fallout New Vegas so far, which is an amazing game. So, How does one write with lens flare? Write a lens flare? Easy. Write with lens flare? No, that's hard. Since I haven't died of radiation, I don't think the bombs were nuclear. The truth is the why doesn't matter. It's the reality I'm living in now. Why did I survive? That is another question I don't really know the answer to. I believe it's because I don't live near any of the major cities, so whatever attacked them didn't reach me. I lived 30 miles south of Gold Hill, Utah, deep out in the middle of nowhere by the mountains. There was nothing out there, and that's why I liked it. Every 2 weeks, I would ride out to the Mills Junction to stock up on supplies. Even that was about a 2-hour ride. Didn't mind, though. I liked looking at the nature as I drove on out there. At some parts, it's nothing but sand for miles. More grains than there were stars in the universe. Anyway, I believed my reclusiveness is what kept me alive. So we have some setup here as to why our protag is alive and such, which isn't bad. Something happened, but I was far away from it, hence why I'm alive. Critiquing horror stories, are you a lit critic? Yeah. It's a hobby, essentially. But yeah, I would hold myself out to be a literary critic. After the collapse, I stayed at my house for as long as I could, but pretty soon I ran out of food. My plan from there was to take the pickup out towards Vegas, but that was a 5-hour drive, and the pickup eats gas like it's nothing, so that wasn't really a viable plan. But then I remembered what was sitting in my garage. My grandfather was always big into motorcycles, and when he died 2 summers ago, he left me his most recent purchase, a 2015 Harley-Davidson Cruiser. Convenient. It was better gas mileage than the truck, and I had enough gas stocked up to get her to Vegas, where I assume I'd be able to get some gas and get to one of the coastal cities I planned for LA. That's a long sentence that could be broken up, I think. Blah, 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 blah. So that leaves us where I am now. I'm stopped on the side of the road on the Veterans Memorial Highway near St. George, Utah. There are a lot of empty cars and a lot of cars that appear to have been burned. There are some bodies, but no one is alive that I've seen. I'm only 2 hours away from Las Vegas, but the sun is starting to set, and I'm pretty damn tired. I'll be in Vegas first thing tomorrow. As for tonight, I'm ending my first journal entry here. All right, so just a lot of setup. I don't know that I would really rewrite any of it. I had a truck, but I'm not going to use it. But I also have this Harley Davidson. Like, it's fine. You could have just said, why'd you forget about the Harley? Did you need to forget about the Harley? Because it just feels convenient that, oh, wait, I remember, I have a Harley. But whatever, let's move on. Let's actually get into the meat of the story. August 23rd, 2018, day 25. Nothing. It's all gone. No casinos, no hotels, just abandoned cars, burning buildings, and garbage. Somebody burned down Vegas, finally. My hope is beginning. Wait, is Zach Baggins okay? We need to make sure Zach Baggins is okay. And his haunted museum. My hope is beginning to fade for what will await me in LA. I saw what remains of the Bellagio. It's not pretty. Well, neither was the Bellagio. Half the building was completely rubble. The other half stood gallantly. It stood just like it had for 2.5 decades. It was almost poetic. I stared at it for a while before going off to look for gas. I didn't find any from the gas stations. Most of them were completely collapsed. One of them was steadily burning. I was able to siphon a half-gallon out of a few cars, but that certainly wasn't enough to get to LA. I don't know what I was expecting. I was certainly hoping it would be like Fallout New... God damn it. It is fine to be inspired by Fallout New Vegas. Do not put that in here when it's that obvious. It just, that breaks the fourth wall like no one's business. Oh, man. Ugh, okay. But that was wishful thinking. It had only been 25 days since all this began, and yet everything had gone to shit. I need to get to LA. Maybe things are better on the coasts. I'm sleeping in the only building I could find that was still mostly standing. Funny enough, it was a gun store. Convenient. I'm going to take some arms with me in the morning. I'll be setting off for City of Angels in the morning. If LA is destroyed, I'm not really sure what I'll do. Maybe I'll head up towards Canada. That'd be nice. Now, we already had it set up that this protag was living out in the middle of nowhere, Utah anyway. I would assume he already had guns. And then also, like that wouldn't be convenient. That would just be like, okay, this dude lives out in the middle of nowhere, has a Harley, has guns. But now it's just, and now I'm going to pick up guns at this convenient-ass gun store. You know. Oh, well. Blah, blah, blah. I went to Las Vegas with my dad when I was younger. It was one of the good memories I had of him. Seeing the strip like this, it makes me sad. But this is the reality I'm living in now. Once again, tomorrow I'll be riding towards uncertainty, prepared for the worst, hoping for the best. The last son of the apocalypse, riding towards the city of 1,000 dreams. Weirdly waxing poetic when kind of nothing else lends itself to that in this story. Kind of weird. I don't know. Okay. August 24, 2018, day 26. I'm 2 hours out of Los Angeles. I'm out of gas and in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to try to siphon more gas from the cars abandoned on the highway. LA is in the distance. I can't really see the city, though. There's a fog around the whole thing. I'm sure it's just a storm that'll clear out soon, but it looks weird. Anyway, tonight I finally ride into uncertainty. Into that fog, into LA, into the apocalypse with a shotgun strapped to my back while riding a motorcycle. Oh my god. Stop trying to sound so epic. But that's tonight. Right now I need to find some gas. Then it's badass action hero time. No one... Who would actually write like this? You know, I can't imagine someone's writing like this in the fucking apocalypse. Note from Dr. Elijah Green from the California Institute of Technology, or Caltech. There is more to this journal, far more. This is just the beginning. This book is believed to have been written by a survivor of a catastrophic, world-ending event. Isn't that redundant? Well, no, I guess not. In a parallel universe. The rest of the book will be released in the coming weeks. We have broken up the journal into 4 pieces. There's much more. It's 4 pieces long, and this isn't even that long. The coming tales from this individual are disturbing in nature. If you are faint of heart, I would recommend not reading the coming parts. Dr. Elijah Green, Caltech. You spell green 2 different ways. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I could kind of understand if this was removed for not being horror. because it's really just I'm alone and the world has ended, but it's more like gosh. I'm trying to like make a comparison here. What was that one Will Smith movie? Fuck. I Am Legend? I Am Legend has a lot of horror elements to it, and it's about a badass in the post-apocalypse. And then you have Mad Max, also about a badass in the post-apocalypse, but it's more just action-oriented. This is the latter. There's I don't doubt that there's going to be horror elements coming in the next parts, but the problem is that's not in this part. This is so much preamble that really does not have a lot going on. I wouldn't delete it personally, because I would want people to give feedback and, probably echo my sentiments of, hey, this is really a horror story. Does it belong here? But I could understand if this gets removed just for that. Nothing more horrifying than LA smog. Good point, Sakura. That was a good point. No Sleep Autobot. Let me know what you guys think, but it's got an alright setup. It needs to stop pretending it's so badass. It needs to take that out. I'm on a motorcycle riding through Nevada. I think I'm the only one left. Sorry, clicked out. Posted by Chowder Report on No Sleep. All right. Moving on. I kind of like the movie. I think I saw it twice, actually. I don't really have much of a desire to see I Am Legend again, but I don't know. Will Smith did fine in that movie compared to the other stuff he's done lately. Like, it almost feels like a different actor entirely. I don't know, there was a lot of restraint. So, I don't know. Let's look for something else. Going back to the creepypasta subreddit. Gotta hit the right tag. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, never mind. This is cross-posted from a website I don't want to visit. God, everything I see is exactly like what I just read. And if it's not, it's just not good. Okay, I think I found something. I'll check to see if anyone recommended something. Nope. Okay, cool. So let's do this. Cold Night of Summer, posted by Lewris, Lewris, on the Creepypasta subreddit. Brazil, January 28th, 2017. So I've never been to Brazil. I don't know a lot about Brazil, so I'm probably going to have questions. I used to walk every day in the late afternoons in that January. It helped to relieve the anxiety of going to live by myself and took away the guilt of living a sedentary life. On these walks, I usually met a high school colleague. We talked about the changes at the end of our high school. She said where she was going to work, and I talked about which college I would go to. She said she would live alone since her mother would change city, and I said I would live in a student republic or something. A student republic. Maybe that means dorm. So this is probably written by a Brazilian, I'm guessing. So we have a English as a second language thing. But so far, it's not too bad. Our relationship as colleagues in the previous years was kind of complicated for me. I always flirted with her and she rarely flirted with me back, but when she did it, she gave me a lot of hope, but nothing ever happened, no matter how hard I tried. Doesn't work out, man. It happens. In one of those walks, she invited me to celebrate her first day alone at home, since her mother had moved out that morning. The mother moved out of the house and left the daughter. That is a little backwards, but it can't happen. I don't know if it was just the teenage hormones manipulating my perception or if she was giving me a chance, but I accepted her invitation without blinking. It was very rare for me to go out with a girl. My insecurity about my appearance and my introversion didn't let me be very popular with women, so this opportunity made me very anxious and nervous. Can relate. Before going to her house, I went to a local grocery store and bought a bottle of wine. Even though we were 17 years old, I thought it would be appropriate and polite. What is the drinking age in Brazil? $18. I'm guessing that store owner just didn't give a shit. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I just did that. Okay, yeah. I walked full of fear and insecurity through the rutted streets of the city between my house and hers. The bottle of cheap wine in the plastic bag trembled with me when I thought about the situation of being alone with a girl at her house. What if we drank illegal wine? Or I guess the wine isn't illegal. I walked about 1 kilometer to get to her house. Damn. The day was very hot, and although it was about 7 p.m., the temperature was about 31 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to do that conversion in my head. I sweated a little to get there. Upon arriving at her place, I had to concentrate to stop shaking myself and call out to her while trying to hide the sweat stains on my armpits. She opened the door for me and invited me in. This is why, kids, if it's hot out, you dress appropriately or you bring a change of a shirt. She opened the door for me and invited me in. I left the wine with her and asked to put it in the refrigerator. When you say, is there a refrigerator I can put this in? And then they can take it? Whatever. This dude's nervous. After putting the wine in the freezer, no. You don't want to freeze wine. Unless you're going to take it out 10 minutes later. You can chill it, but you don't want to freeze it, dude. She then took a bottle of cheap lemon soda and a bottle of vodka from the fridge. Ooh. We're doing vodka mixers. We drank the mixture on the cold floor of the room. The house was a little unfurnished, and there was a strange emptiness in that place. We talked about music, VHS tapes, recorder flute, Lord of the Rings, and anime. I don't know why that's so funny to me. I guess it's kind of charming. This is great. As the conversation evolved, we got more and more drunk. The summer night got hotter and hotter, and I got more and more nervous, not knowing if she wanted something with me or she was just being nice. After a while, the drink left me more relaxed, and the conversation flowed more naturally. Okay. Let's pause and think about what we just read. So, a little bit clunky in the language, but again, that can be forgiven because of English as a second language. But so far, this is perfectly fine. We know who our protag is. We know enough about his insecurities and how they relate to the plot. At present, we are left with kind of this uneasy feeling of what's going to happen. Because obviously this is a horror story, needs to go somewhere, and we have our protag alone with someone that kind of knows. But, who knows? There is some tension here, and I think it's not blown its load too quickly or anything like that. We also have the element of the drinking, which can cause problems. So we will see. Let me look at the comments. Juvenile delinquency for the win. Underage drinking is fine, probably. Abysme. We need an alcohol stream with Abysme. Every stream is an alcohol... No, I'm kidding. I'm not drinking right now. It's too early. Although one of these days I could. I could. We could do a a happy hour, stream. I could have some of my friends meet on Discord and drink with me, if people would be down for that. I'll host it on my channel. Rum reading. We don't have rum, Paprika. What are you talking about? We could do a Zoom meeting as well, because Zoom is kind of damn useful. Anyway, plans for different times. Moving on with the story. After putting the wine in the freezer, she then took a bottle of cheap lemon soda and a bottle of vodka from the fridge. Oh, wait. Shit. Sorry, I already read that. What am I doing? Despite the scorching heat, I went with my new boot that day. Sorry, backing up. Despite the scorching heat, I went with my new boot that day, and at some point during a laugh of mine, I dropped some of the mixture of vodka and lemon soda in the boot. She soon smiled with a mixture of scorn with malice. And said to take off the boot so as not to spoil it, and right after that, she dropped a little of her drink in her own pants. I can't remember for sure if it was on purpose, but when I went to try the risky movement of smiling back and asking her to take off her pants so as not to spoil, I was interrupted by the loud knocking of the open room door. Okay. So they're spilling on each other, and they're kind of joking, kind of not joking about, oh, you better take that off. At that moment, all the doors and windows that were open slammed hard, and a very strong wind started to sound outside the house. I thought it was just a summer storm, but when I went to the door to open it back because the heat was unbearable, I saw something in the window that I had never seen live. I saw snow. Okay. So now freak storm or something. Okay. That was a clunky paragraph, but I think I understand what's going on. In the corners of the window, it accumulated and the wind was throwing more and more snow towards the glass, and nothing was seen except the floating white outside the house. When I tried to open the door, it didn't move. I thought it was locked, but there was no key in the door at the time. I tried to open it more forcefully. This time the door opened a small crack, and from that crack, the coldest air I had witnessed in my entire life entered the house. Well, I mean, it was a pretty hot house, so this is kind of nice. But in a fraction of seconds, the very strong wind soon closed the door again. Okay, so we have weird wind fuckery happening with the house. Abysme needs to explain Ghost Adventures. Oh no, okay. Ghost Adventures is hosted by a legit alien parading in human skin known as Zach Baggins. It is a paranormal research show on the Travel Channel. It pretty much is the Travel Channel at this point, and it is a personal favorite of mine and my friends. It is hilarious. It is frustrating. It is. It's like. It just the way it presents itself is so bad, but it is a fun watch if you have time, and there's a great drinking game that we've made around it. Even if you believe in ghosts or whatnot, you can't. It is impossible to take that show seriously. Yeah, it's go watch it if you want to have some laughs. Dad Poltergeist has arrived. What are you doing with my daughter? I mean, the timing was good on, oh, maybe you should take off your pants. Bam! Stuff happens. So, that's not a terrible theory. Raccoon says, Ghost Adventures is more fake than Ghost Hunters, but less fake than Most Haunted. Have I seen Ghost Hunters? I don't know if I've seen Ghost Hunters. I tried watching other similar type shows, and they're all boring as piss because they don't have Zach Baggins and they don't have Aaron. And they're either taking themselves too seriously or they just don't have any charisma. And yeah, I would agree, putting it in the perfect zone of fakery. Zach Baggins, like Bilbo Baggins. It's spelled Bagans. And I think he actually pronounces it Zach Bagans, but no one on the planet says anything other than Zach Baggins, because that just adds to the hilarity. Anyway, continuing on. I looked at my friend and she was more confused than I was. I sat on the floor back with her, relieved by the sudden drop in temperature, I must confess, and we started discussing what could be causing a snowstorm in a tropical country. The chances of drunk teenagers boiled down to mentioning El Nino, winter monsoons, fine hail, volcanic eruptions, and possible nuclear apocalypses. The chances of drunk teenagers. Chances should be a different word. The imaginations, something like that. During these assumptions, we heard muffled screams coming from the street. Probably someone passing through the streets was suffering from the storm. She and I ran out to try to help, but this time the door did not move a millimeter. We tried to open other doors and windows, but they were all in the same state. I tried to see something through the window, but the blizzard didn't let me see anything but shapes. I saw what looked like a big running dog and something else that made me doubt my momentary sanity. Although it was night, I saw a very strong orange gray. Maybe orange tinted by mist or fog or something? Orange gray, okay. Coming from outside, as if it were a beautiful sunset. I ignored this and blamed alcohol for the misinterpretation of the facts, like I do every night. So, I like and dislike parts about this. I like the fact that there's nothing so overtly, oh my god, there's a pale man outside. And I looked out. I thought I saw maybe a dog. I don't know why it's snowing. It's kind of weird. I like that. But like the last story, the story before that, Why I'm Afraid to Sleep, this feels kind of like the pacing is fumbled. Like I'm kind of waiting for stuff to happen now, and I'm afraid it's just going to turn into, and then this thing happened, and then this thing happened, and then this thing happened, and it's all just kind of filler. We'll see. We'll see. After a few seconds, the screams disappeared, and we assumed that everything was fine and that the person outside was just startled by the blizzard. But before reaching the room again, the energy of the house fell, and we were completely pitch. Oh, okay, so the lights went out, the power went out. Okay, and we were completely pitch black. I turned on my phone's flashlight and helped her look for candles and matches to light something. We put the candles on the floor of the living room. We sat around them waiting for the light to come back and the storm to pass, talking about how this storm would be a historic event in Brazil and betting on what the meteorological explanation would be. I remembered that I had left clothes on the clothesline and that my dog was out of the house. Then I remembered that I needed to call my mother to check if everything was okay. Oh boy, your dog was out of the house. That's not good. There was no cell phone signal, let alone internet. I tried to use the home phone, but it was muted. As I had never witnessed a snowstorm, I thought that Brazilian infrastructure was also not prepared for such an event, and everything had fallen temporarily. A fine assumption. Sweetwater, I love you, but you need to go away. You need to go away. Blah, 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 blah. All there was to do at that moment was to wait for the storm to pass. We noticed that the snow that once flew with the wind outside the windows was now agglomerated. Agglomerated? Is that the right word? Is that a word? Sounds like a word. Agglomerated? Sorry, being a nerd here. Okay, yeah, it is a word. Collect from into a master group. Right, okay. Yeah, no, that's correct. Okay, no, fair enough, fair enough. We tried to beat the snow to fall. We tried to beat the snow to fall and to be able, to fall off and to be able to see the street. But no matter how hard we hit the snow, it didn't fall at all. It seemed like we were buried. And it was at that moment that we realized the whole situation. I felt an uncontrollable urge to cry, my eyes filled with tears. I started to sob and stammer about the situation we were in. My isolation companion tried to calm me down, but I felt despair in her voice too. Also, wouldn't you be getting really cold at this point if you're buried in snow and you probably don't have insulation in your house? We tried several times to get out of there. No way of communication worked, and although we were stuck less than 30 minutes away, despair had overtaken us. I started walking around the house, cursing my life for putting me in the situation and for all the shit I would have to deal with when I got out of there, from buying a snow shovel to burying my dog who had probably died of cold. Aw, doggo. So, I'm going to be that guy is this story about the insecurity of talking to girls? I don't know. From that moment on, we started to notice that the house was starting to cool down. There we go. And very fast. She soon ran to her closet to get a shirt and wrap up. I borrowed one too, as the temperature was dropping to a worrying level. God, I cannot talk this morning. We laughed a little when I put on her shirt, and it didn't even cover half of my torso. The temperature situation was getting alarming. We thought about burning her books on the stove, but in a closed environment like that, the smoke would do more harm than good. True. In order not to freeze while we think, we turn on all the stove and oven and stand beside him in the hope that it will warm us up a bit. I thought all the power was gone. It could be a gas stove, I guess. Next to the stove, she hugged me. I know it was just for the sake of heat conservation, but it felt really good with that hug that seemed so sincere. Aww. In those moments, embraced by the stove, the stove, I know it means you're embraced and you're standing by the stove, but it's almost like the stove got arms and then also hugged, and it was this nice little group hug. We started to hear a strong thunder, and we feel what seemed to be earthquakes. We thought it should have something to do with the storm, and we also remembered that there was no way to have earthquakes in Brazil. Is there... There's no fault lines near enough to Brazil? Is that true? Again, I don't know much about Brazil. I have to have someone confirm that for me. The tremors were well marked and slow, and were getting stronger and stronger. It became more surreal when we also heard a loud and low sound in addition to thunder. The sound sounded like a mixture of a nuclear alarm siren and the sound of an elephant's trunk. A lot of weird imagery here. A lot of weird descriptions, and they're not necessarily working very well, I think. When the tremors were getting worrying and the sound was deafening, and my friend had her eyes closed and her hand over her ears trying to ignore it for a moment, then I remembered the candles in the room. I get out of the kitchen and get them and try to take advantage of their heat too. I crouched down to pick up the candles, and when I turned towards my friend who was trembling beside the stove, I heard a cracking sound of wood and concrete crumbling. Before I could reason or react, which I think was a black pointed paw broke the roof and landed on top of it, impaling it. Wow, that needed to be broken up. That was just rapid fire stuff. So this weird black dog thing, giant black dog thing, is now kind of broken in or something. That was the most surreal moment of my life. I saw death for the first time when I saw that monstrous paw invade the house. Oh god, it's Cujo. The texture of that was almost like the bark of those big black beetle, but it looked much darker and harder. When the paw got up, breaking the roof even more, as if the house were made of paper, and taking my friend's impaled body with it. Okay, so she got impaled. Okay. I had a chance to see that. A creature that looked like an insect, but did not look like any animal I saw in my life, walked slowly with several other gigantic paws between the houses. I couldn't get a real dimension of the animal, since the fog and snow made it very difficult for me to see it. I saw no torso or head. The fog just let me see those paws destroying everything they stepped on. Alright. A little sudden, but at least it wasn't another pale figure with long fingers. And it brings with it this apocalyptic snowstorm and earthquakes. I kind of like that. It feels very tacked on, because I feel the beginning of this story had a much better like unease of being alone with someone you don't entirely know, and then it turned into, oh god, survive the night. I feel like there's two different stories going on here, and one just interrupted the other. But the creature design is fine. It just, yeah, like, it doesn't gel well together, which is unfortunate because I really did like the beginning of this. From the hole made by the creature, monstrous amounts of snow began to enter the kitchen. I tried to run to the room and slipped on the frozen blood of the kitchen floor. Oh no. I ran into a room that I assumed was her mother's, wrapped myself in several blankets and blouses, and stayed under the bed. I also took a notebook that was in the wardrobe, and that's what I'm writing it on. Okay? It is already 2 o'clock in the morning, and I no longer feel my toes and some fingers. I feel like a fool writing this instead of trying to survive. I also found a pistol under the bed. Ugh. Thank you guys for reading. It is my first creepypasta in English, and I am sorry for the grammar errors. If you guys find some, please let me know so I can learn and not commit these errors anymore. Thank you again. Okay, so first of all, I forgot the author's name. Luris. No, thank you. Thank you for writing. I think if you want to listen, if for some reason you find this, I did give feedback as far as grammar. Hope my feedback helped. I admire writing in a language that is not your first language. That is very difficult. But my biggest critique would be, it feels like you have two different stories going on. I honestly, and because that's happening, I don't know exactly what I would do to rewrite this. Your first part is great. It's got a lot of good characterization, and I feel like you could still do something with being with this girl alone that the two of you kind of don't know if you're flirting or not. Like that's very relatable. That happens to a lot of people. But then the snowstorm and then the giant black dog beetle creature, it just all feels so sudden and just kind of I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't work. I don't know how I would make it work. I think you need to try something else, but you have something good here. That being said, I'm writing this. I'm almost dead. Who found this, and how this journal? I found a pistol. I don't know. I would take that out. The storm passed after the dog creature left, and Brazil is reeling from it, and I'm getting my thoughts down. Would have been nicer, I guess. Yeah, but other than that, this is a good first try. Clean it up, rework it, revisit it. I did enjoy reading this though, for the most part. So you get an upvote. David says, I would lose the monster and keep the snowstorm in Brazil as the freak element. Could do. Slimebeast says, idea, story from the perspective of a guy who found someone's I'm about to die horror story, but he never says what's in it. What else do we got here? Earthquakes can happen anywhere. Yeah, see, like, they really can. My cat is complaining to me. Oh, it's noon. Need to feed her. All right. I actually have stuff I gotta do today. So I'm gonna have to cut it here. I know it's short. I'm sorry that last week wasn't able to do an episode or stream, whatever the hell you want to call these. So I'm actually gonna call it here because I got stuff to do. But thank you everybody for showing up. I will plan to do this again next week, same time, same place. Yeah. So I'll talk to you all at that point. Thank you to all the authors who submitted stories, not directly to me, but they're up there on the internet. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.